Hi, welcome to the Leadership Lab. Studying in the US and coming back to India is still a dream for many, but this person has made it happen for himself. Varun Ektare has done his bachelor's from SVBCP Mumbai and then his master's in public health from the University of Boston. He has then worked with Pharmerit as a research analyst in health economics and outcome research. He got promoted as a senior scientist and now is in India leading Pharmerit operations in health economics and outcome research. With more than 8 years' experience in this industry, Varun has set up a very strong base for Pharmerit in India and he is very keen to work with the Indian talent. So let us talk to Mr. Varun Ektare and understand more about his profession. So first of all, thank you so much, Varun, for joining us at the Leadership Lab. That's the name of our program. I will directly start with the first question. What is your current job profile and what are your roles and responsibilities in the current job profile?
Okay. So at the moment, I have two different titles, and it's almost like I have two different jobs. Even I'm working in the same company. Even then, I have two different titles. So one of my titles is the remnant of what I used to do when I was in the US. So that's senior scientist. I'm a senior scientist in health economic modeling and meta-analysis group that we have at Pharmerit. So that's something I used to be even when I was in the US. And now, after I came back here, I'm also the lead for the Indian office, or Pharmerit India, basically. So those are my two titles. Under senior scientist, I'm usually leading modeling, cost effectiveness, budget impact modeling projects, network meta-analysis projects. Talking to clients on a regular basis, leading a team of researchers, and throughout the course of the project, I'm involved in some capacity, right? But then when it comes to leading the India office, it's totally different role. Here, I established the office here, right from like starting finding an office space to finding like a chartered accountant, registering the business, opening bank accounts, and now hiring new employees. So for that, identifying colleges, universities, and doing their campus placements and stuff. So I'm involved in all of that. I'll have to train the new people. So we have at the moment we have one colleague of mine. So there are two of us, me and one more colleague who works from the Mumbai office, and then there are three more who are joining in a couple of months. So I'll be responsible for their development, their growth within the company, and making sure they get the projects that they want to work on. So those are my two different profiles at the moment that I'm working on.
Right, that's great. So that must be too much of a responsibility to start up completely fresh in India, taking over the entire setup here.
True. It's a different challenge, but I mean at the same time, it's very interesting also. Like these are things that I had never done in my previous role.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had not come back to India, I would have never gotten this opportunity even, right? So that was another. I mean, I didn't think that my company would actually want to do all of this. I mean, I just asked them, can I go back and work from them remotely?
Right.
Because I was confident that I can work remotely myself. There was no issue in that. But then they said, if you are going back, then why not open an office? So it's very interesting. It's challenging. You have to juggle between a lot of different things. But everybody is learning, and you get better at it over time. But so far, it's very fulfilling.
That's great. As long as you're enjoying it, that's what matters eventually. So,
Exactly, absolutely true. Yeah.
So Varun, this profile of yours, it said HEOR as one of the titles, Senior Scientist HEOR. If you could elaborate a little more about what exactly HEOR is and what kind of, what is its availability, or I would rather say, what is the profile in the market going on right now?
So HEOR stands for Health Economics and Outcomes Research. So typically what researchers in this field do is, we are comparing medical technologies. Okay, so it could be pharmaceutical drugs, it could be medical devices, it could be diagnostic tests. So whenever there is a new technology that comes into market, let's say, Glaxo or Pfizer comes up with a new diabetes medicine, Now there are already, as you know, several diabetes medicines already on the market, right? So how do you separate or distinguish, or how do you show that the value, additional value that your product brings? So, you can look at the efficacy data from the trials, but those are all very short term. On top of that, you also want to, show to your payers or your insurance companies that your product has other economic benefits that are associated with those clinical benefits, right? So then when you compare your product with other products in terms of its, not just clinical profile, but also health economic profile. So if you have better efficacy, maybe you avoid some hospitalizations, maybe you avoid some adverse events. So what is the cost that you save because of avoiding these things? So you have to show, you have to estimate these costs, and you have to extrapolate it over the lifetime of a patient, because diabetes is a chronic disease. It's going to stay with the patient for their rest of their life, right? So we do all these analysis. We help pharma companies. We take clinical trial data that they provide us, and then we extrapolate it over the lifetime of a patient. So we have to almost replicate the disease in a
Okay.
patient from the moment the patient gets the disease until the patient dies. Right? And then we estimate the cost and compare the new technology with existing technology. That's how you justify the additional benefit and additional price.
That's very interesting, yeah, obviously. How does this industry, what does this industry expect from students? Like current students, if they wish to join in this profile, what would be the expectations of a company like yours from the students? Like any basic knowledge that they should be aware of, or any skills that they should already have, anything of that sort?
So there are certain skills that are always good to have, I would say. So one of them I would say is should be comfortable with numbers. You should have a knack of looking at data, making sense of data, because a lot of what we do, we have to deal with data, right? So you have to be able to look at a medical publication in a peer-reviewed journal and understand the data that's published in that article, right? You have to make sense of it, and you have to do it with lots of different publications, and then see trends and be able to look for those trends, or look for areas where there are no trends, right? You have to identify those. So one thing is you should be good with numbers. The second one I would say is you have to have attention to detail, right? Because a lot of what we do is actually detective work. I look at it that way. Like when we have to find certain data in medical literature, we are, there is thousands of papers published on everything nowadays, right? There are so many articles in journals that get published all the time. So how do you, remove all the noise from the signal, right? So you have to have that detective mindset that, okay, this is what I have to find, and then, you work from that, right? So attention to detail is very important. So these are general skills, but on top of that, if you have some experience programming, like if you know any programming language, doesn't matter which one it is. If it's just a skill programming that if you know,
Right.
it's going to help, because we build models in Excel, in R, we do analysis with data in R, in Excel, right? So programming is very valuable. Understanding of basic statistical concepts can be very useful. Now, if you're a pharmacy student, then you already have some clinical knowledge. You are well versed with reading clinical trials, outcomes, and those type of stuff. That's always going to help you, but that's not enough. On top of that, all these other things are definitely pluses that
Right.
will help you get started on day one.
Absolutely, that's great. And what are the growth prospects for students? Like, I'm very happy to see that this particular kind of profile has now been in India, because I have very rarely heard of such profiles being existent in India. So it's a great opportunity for Indian students also to try into this market, is it?
Right, right. So, I mean, at the moment, there is some HEOR work that goes on in the Indian market. At the moment, Pharmerit, we don't have any business in India per se, but you have two types of HEOR work going on in India right now. So, one is companies like us.
Hmm.
It's not always easy to find talent in US or Europe. In a country like India, we have so many people, talented people graduating from pharmacy schools. For companies now, it's also one aspect of their strategy to open an office in India to tap into this talent pool, right?
Right.
So these companies like us at the moment, we don't have any business here, but we just cater to our existing clients in US, Europe, and maybe other places in Asia. But we want to use going forward our Indian offices to do those projects, right?
Wow.
The other type of HEOR work is for Indian market specifically. So there are also companies doing that, and we would also love to do that at some point once we have established a team here. We can also look into that. So there are these two types of, but the growth is there. I can see already that lots of people are setting up shop here in India, right? It's going to grow. That's for sure.
That's great. That's great. Very good news for the Indian students as well, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Varun, any one moment of your life that made you take the decision to one, go to the US and then come back to India? So there would be two moments in that case.
Uh, that's a hard one. I can tell you what led me to, when I decided to pursue health economics as a career option.
Right.
I actually don't remember any one moment when I decided to go to US. I think it might have been like gradually I felt like, okay, this is a good thing to do maybe. But I definitely remember very well the day when I decided to pursue HEOR and not anything else. So we had gone to IPC in Delhi, which was I think in 2008 or 9. One of those 2 years. And at that time, I had decided that I want to go to the US to pursue my master's. But I was more probably looking at pharmacology. Like out of all the subjects, I thought this one is for me, and I liked it. So I was like, okay, I will do a master's in pharmacology. So when I went to IPC, I was like, okay, let's go to all the sessions and listen to all the discussions pertaining to pharmacology. So wherever I could find anything that's related to pharmacology, I was attending that. And after 2 or 3 sessions, I just realized this is not for me. I was not, like when you take a course in college, like what you learn in pharmacy school is it just introduces you to that subject. But what it actually takes to do, like to do some research in it or accept that as your job every day is completely different. What you learn in books is it doesn't always give you the full flavor of how life as a pharmacologist is going to be like, right? So when I listen to those industry people, some professors from other universities in India, I realized that pharmacology is not for me, and then other subjects I was anyways not too interested in, right? So then I said I have to find something different, and
Okay.
then that led me to look for other things like health economics.
Great. Great. And what made you come back to India?
So again, that is a difficult question to answer because there is no, as far as I remember, as long as I can remember, I've always, like when I went to the US, I've always wanted to come back. So it was not, you know, it was not something I decided after I went there. That
Okay.
after a few years, I feel now I want to go back. I miss India. I always wanted to come back, but it just I ended up staying longer than I thought. But several reasons. I mean, lots of reasons for. I mean, one of the biggest reasons I can see now is if I had stayed in our Bethesda office in Maryland, I would have been a senior scientist, doing HEOR, health economics and outcomes research, which is fine. I love it, but I wouldn't get this opportunity of leading the Indian operations, which is a completely in my career I would have never gotten this opportunity if I had stayed there, right? So that's one of the reasons why I'm very happy I made that decision. But there is no like one moment when I
Okay.
decided,
All
suddenly.
right. Absolutely fine. Varun, I'm pretty sure your journey has been great. So, and because all great journeys do have some challenges as well. So, if you could share certain challenges that you faced as a student, as a B pharmacy student here in India, and certain challenges in the US, and how did you try to overcome those challenges?
So one, distinctly, I remember is, so when I started working at Pharmerit, which is my first job right out of grad school, right? So I finished my master's in public health and I
Okay.
joined Pharmerit, right? So the good thing about the MPH curriculum is that it's very broad. It gives you a bird's eye view of the healthcare industry and how different stakeholders interact with each other. So you get a very good idea about an overall picture of how things were in healthcare, right?
Right.
But that kind of made me jack of master of none and jack of all trades, right? Like that's what the saying was, right? So
Right.
I did not have any particular area that was my specialty. I was like a generalist guy, but in HEOR, it's a very technical field. So you have to, you have to have something. There are a lot of people in our office, they have done PhD in health economics. So they are, very deep in subject matter, right? So they're subject matter experts. So I didn't have that. So right away, I decided that, I don't want to lose the generalist in me because that's a perspective that I have that nobody else have or very few people have it. So that's good. I want to maintain that, but at the same time, I need to pick an area where I need to go. I need to dive deeper into it, right? So I picked modeling and meta-analysis, and I self-taught myself. I spent, read a lot of books. My company has always also encouraged, people want to take training. So I went to several trainings. I asked lots of questions to my seniors, and basically self-taught myself a lot of things. So that involves working on weekends and weeknights, and you can't just say I'll do 9 to 5 and then that's it. And
Right.
that doesn't work, right? So that's the way I think, and I have continued to do that over time. I mean, there is so much to learn. I mean, nobody, even after spending 20, 30 years in this field, you can't say that you know everything.
Absolutely.
So you have to keep doing that. There's no other way, and it's good if it comes from within you, so
Right.
that you're not forced to do it at some point.
Absolutely. Very true. So, just a continuity of the same question. As you said, you were working on weekdays and weeknights also, and not just sticking to the 9 to 5 schedule. Certain disciplines or certain ethics that you have always followed that help you to reach to this position right now. That you would say, or that you would recommend the students also to follow strongly.
Right. So I mean, the easiest way, I think, to grow in your professional life and maybe also personal life. But let's stick to professional for a moment. So the easiest way is if you are naturally curious about something, if you follow your passion, right? Like for example, you started Pharmacad. Definitely, there must have been something in you that wanted you to do that, right? So if it comes from within, if you are passionate about something, then you will stretch yourself. You will put yourself, in uncomfortable situations, and you will come out of your comfort zone, right? So that's what it takes really to grow, I think. And nobody can force you to do that. It has to come from you, and the only way it will come from you is if you yourself enjoy it, right? If you are passionate about it. So
Absolutely.
choose whatever you choose. Think, twice, three times, whatever number of times, and ask yourself, is this something that like you shouldn't, when you go to work, you shouldn't feel like I'm going to work, right?
Right.
Yeah, if you just think of your job as a 9 to 5 thing and after 5 o'clock I want to forget, some days you have to do that, but from time to time you have to do more than that. So that's the easiest I can recommend. You don't have to worry about getting into any like becoming very disciplined or anything. If you like something, if you enjoy, you will forget what time of the day it is, you will just work on it, so no need to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember our IPA days in that case. We used to stay back all the
Right.
way till 9:30, 10:30, irrespective, without having lunch, dinner, and we used
We were having a lot of fun and we were
absolutely
enjoying it, right? So that's why.
enjoying that. It was a great time actually. Uh,
Right.
and Varun, any couple of books that you would recommend if you are into reading as well? So if you would recommend certain books for self development to these students that they can perhaps read during this quarantine or even after the lockdown.
Right. So, one thing, I mean, I'll give you one or two names that I have read a few self-development books. There are lots of them. There is the 5 second rule, then there is uh, the by Angela Duckworth, there is Grit. by Ladakh. That's a good one. There are many. There are really many. What I actually would recommend is, you can read all of these books, but at least in my own case, I find them useful, no doubt about it. But I have found other books to be more useful for my own sake. So, for example, when I read biographies or autobiographies,
Right.
when I read what what was the reason behind the success, or when you read it in their own words, what motivated these successful people,
Right.
that to me, I mean, I can connect with that a lot more. So compared to any self-development book, uh, you know personal stories, I think, are much more powerful, right? So for example, if you read Surely You're Joking, Mr. Feynman, so that's autobiography of the physicist, Richard Feynman. So that one I absolutely enjoyed reading. There's so much. I mean, every page is full of some wisdom that you can try to acquire and keep. Then Steve Jobs' autobiography, I mean biography, the first one, was also fantastic. There's so many things about him that if you take one of it and try to imitate him, just try to imitate Steve Jobs in that one aspect, I think it will help you a lot. So that's my recommendation.
Absolutely. That's great. Yeah, certainly biographies, a lot of people can actually relate to their real life stories.
Correct,
Absolutely.
right?
Very true.
Yeah.
Right. And Varun, last question. It's not a question actually. Any message that you would like to give to our students, whoever is gonna be listening to this?
So just so as I said already, identify your passion. Just think about it this way: think of any subject right now in your school that you like, in your college, right? And or think about anything that you did recently that you really enjoyed and you did a very good job at it, right? And then try to work backwards from there. Like, what was so special about this particular subject that you really liked it, or what was about this practical that you did recently in the lab that you really did a good job at it. And then try to understand yourself. Like, your main thing is to understand yourself. What is it that you are good at? What is it that you like to do? And that's what we call passion, right? So
Right.
once you find out what your passion is, then that's it. Then choose that as your career option. And no matter how much scope there is for that particular thing, if you reach the top, you will be successful eventually. Like, don't think too much about, oh, there are more jobs in this field, less jobs in this field. Those are all relative things.
Right.
If you become the expert in anything, you will do fine.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So just try to understand yourself more. What is it that you like?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Varun. With this, we shall wind up this session. Thank you so much, Varun, for being with us. And I'm sure the students will get to learn a lot once they listen to this interview, and they will be able to relate as well. And perhaps maybe even take your journey similar to yours, and then they can also perhaps reach to your level of professionalism and
They will do much better than I did. I mean, we only talked about all the good things I've learned. I mean, all the mistakes I made, you don't know yet.
right, true. All
Okay.
right. Thank you so
Great.
much, Varun. Yeah. Thank you for watching the Leadership Lab. If you have any questions for our speakers or any suggestions for us, you can email to us on pharmacad.mumbai@gmail.com, and the title of the email should be the Leadership Lab. And we shall try to send your questions to the speakers and get the answers at the earliest. Thank you so much for supporting. Keep watching. Take care.